what I want to do before we get chatting, I want to know a little bit about you so that we can introduce you properly to our audience, because not everybody on here will know who you are. And also for the people who will see this after we've recorded it, so they know who I'm talking to. So let's have a little bit of background information tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
So my name is Hayley, aka LingLing, and LingLing is my unofficial Chinese name, which was kind of given to me by my mum in a throwaway moment of her just wanting me to get out of her face when I was like saying, "Mum, give me a Chinese name. Why don't I have a Chinese name?" And she went, LingLing, there, now go away, you know.
Wow.
Trying to do my crossword or whatever she was doing.
Wow. What does it mean?
So apparently, according to an app that I use, it is the...
No, you didn't just say that. You didn't just say that.
I did. According to this app I use, it is the onomatopoeic sound of jade. So you know, like how, like, so like we have like crash or bang or something like that.
Yeah. I love that. That's my favourite word, onomatopoeia.
Is it?
So you know, just so you know, yeah.
So yeah, apparently the sound of like jade, like ling is ling in how it would be expressed in Chinese.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Apparently, it's really like common and quite like authentic. So I've heard. My name, and then the Liu, which I was saying to you the other day, is the surname. So Chinese names always have the surname in front of the given names.
So Liu LingLing.
Yes, and I picked that because it sounds like Lewis, which is my surname. So I thought I'll just pick that as my Chinese surname.
Awesome.
I don't know what else about me. So born and raised in Ilford. Quite nice, you know. Jack of all trades, master of none. That's my
London.
I know. I don't think I have that accent though. I think over the years the accent has really disappeared because I think like I got really used to speaking with people who don't have English as a first language. And I think when you get used to talking to people, you become aware of your accent and pronouncing things properly and fully, and speaking really like slowly and clearly. So I think as a result, my accent is just not East London or Essex at all. But you know.
Wow. You really and truthfully, we kind of would have been neighbours because I grew up in Bethnal Green. I mean, I was born in Fulham, which is just, it's so funny because you've got the voice that I should have technically because I grew up in Fulham, and you should have my voice really because you were born and bred in Ilford. But I grew up in Bethnal Green and then kind of in the Forest Gate area and all the sort of East End sort of thing, Hackney and all around there. So we could have possibly been neighbours at one point.
I'm sure we have. Like I've probably walked past your parents before, or you're like been on the same bus as them. You know.
Yeah. So, yeah. I remember one time in a crazy act of nonsense. I don't know what I was thinking because I was living in Manor Park. Yeah, Manor Park. And I decided that I was going to cycle to Southend.
Oh, why? Why would you do that?
I don't know. And I just got on my bike and started cycling. And I kind of got to this like motorway bit. And then I just sort of thought, actually, I don't think this is such a good idea. And so I kind of like toddled back. I don't know, one of those crazy moments you have, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, Ilford, and I think I went to, because they used to have that kind of they used to have like a shopping centre there, I think, back in the day.
There. It's still there. If it's the Exchange, it's still there.
Yeah.
Like
I think the 25 bus and the 225 or something used to go there.
So now it's still the 25 and the 86.
I thought the 86 just went to Romford.
It does go to Romford, but it stops on Ilford's in between, like Forest, like Stratford and Romford, isn't it? Yeah, so after it goes to Forest Gate and the Park, then Ilford is the next port of call.
Oh my days, that's just bringing back memories, man. That's just too funny. That's just too funny.
And now we don't even have us anymore because we're all scared of catching COVID. So,
oh, no, that's too funny. Too funny. Right. Okay. So you grew up in East London or in Ilford. What did you do when you left school?
gosh, so quite the kind of typical academic route, I guess. When I left school, so I did my GCSEs and then I stayed on at my school's sixth form and did my A-levels.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to Leeds University for a year.
Wow.
But I dropped out because I was failing left, right, and centre. I was studying Chinese and Russian. I wouldn't recommend it. So like I failed. I was just failing.
You failed Chinese?
Yeah, I did. It's really hard. It's really hard, you know. So yeah, I was failing the Chinese and Russian because I wasn't putting in enough work into it at all. And then,
can I just ask you, because there's not really much call for Russian in East London, so kind of,
you think?
Where were you where were you going to take these? If you'd have passed these exams, where were you going to take these skills?
Yeah,
what were you going to do with them?
I don't think I thought that far ahead. I just signed up because I really find languages quite fascinating. So I just find it intriguing that things can look so alien and so foreign, like a code, and yet to millions and millions, or billions in the case of China, in so many cases, like that just makes perfect sense to millions of people around the world. So when I was doing history A-level, we were studying Russia. So I became quite interested in Russian history. And then some of the like propaganda posters that we looked at were, of course, in Russian. And I always thought, wow, that would be so cool to be able to read it. And then when I went to uni, that turned into one of the things that I was able to kind of like pick as my second, my sort of, what do they call it? Like a minor module. So Chinese was the degree. And then I just thought, oh, Russian, let me just, you know, I've got the chance to learn it. So let me just do that. I mean, I can remember absolutely nothing from it. Yeah, but I don't know what my plans were. I think it was just to learn it and just to feel a bit smug that I could, like, you know, potentially read this strange looking language. But yeah, I mean, I remember absolutely nothing.
That's amazing, though, that you did. Yeah, that is really cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you look at Russian written down or even Chinese written, but isn't Chinese meant to be isn't it meant to be the most spoken language in the world?
Yes, but that's because there's over 1 billion people in China alone. So it's the most spoken language in terms of the volume of people that speak it. It's also, I think, one of the hardest languages to learn because it is just, there's no alphabet. It's extremely hard to memorize. But you know, the Chinese do it. So I kind of feel like there should be more of an effort from those of us in the West to kind of learn it, because so many people have to learn English every single day. You know, so many people struggle with it and become fluent in it and learn the things that they need to say.
Yeah.
So I kind of always feel like as Brits, we're not very good at learning other languages and at least trying. You know, we don't have that kind of like situation like forcing us to learn and to be able to speak with people in their own language. Yeah. So I kind of like, I like other languages. I can't speak any other language fluently, but I think like I've got a few words in a few languages, and I'm always quite happy to try. So, but in terms of what the plan was after I studied those, I don't know. But that's why I only lasted a year, because I just wasn't putting in the work. And then I took a year out, and then I went back to university, but this time to Newcastle, and studied history, my other love.
Wow. So you've kind of been about a bit, haven't you? London, Leeds, Newcastle.
Yeah.
All the fun cities.
Sorry, say that again?
All the fun cities.
All the fun cities. Yeah, that's true, I guess. Newcastle I've not been back to since I graduated. I don't know if I'll ever go back there again. It was a bit of a bizarre experience. Like it feels physically and culturally far away from London. the temperature
In
drops.
what way? Yeah,
Think,
but with the sorry to cut in there,
no,
but
no, no, go.
with Newcastle, it's always about, and it's so bad because it's like this parody of Newcastle, but it's always about Newcastle gals with like no coats on and lads with t-shirts or just walking like that in the middle of winter and never cold and just white man.
I tell you what. So every stereotype you have just said, absolutely true. So like that is it. And so I remember when I first went there, and I'd be queuing up for clubs. It was bloody freezing. So I'd be there in my like jacket and my scarf. And I would be the only person in the whole entire queue that would have that. Like I'd be the only person going to the cloakroom. And I just thought, what is this? And then sort of a few months in, I decided to like join the culture. And I just started going out wearing like a vest top. Like it was ridiculous and I was freezing. And like I always used to ask other people, how do you cope with this? Because I'm bloody cold. And they would just say, no, just don't think about it. They're like, just don't think about it. So then I trained myself to not think about it. But I mean, it was stupid, like, because it was so freezing.
Yeah, that just reminds me of when I was growing up in and having to go secondary school. And I'll never forget, my mum bought me this coat, right? And it was like, at that time, blanket coats, which were these wool coats, were the thing. Yes. And I really hated them. And I wanted to get a parka because my mate had one, and because they had lots of pockets. I love coats with pockets. I love pockets and secret pockets and other little arm pockets, any pockets I love. And I wanted one of those blue parkas with the big snorkel hood because they were really fashionable at the time. And she wouldn't buy one for me. And she bought me this wool coat, this teal covered, it was like a blue coloured wool coat. And I hated it. And I used to have to wear it to school. So what I used to do is I used to put it on when I was going out the house, get to the bus stop because it was around the corner, and take it off and fold it up, put it in my school bag, and then walk to school in just my uniform in the middle of winter, even when it was snowing. And then do the same thing on the way home. As I got round the corner, I'd take it out of my bag, put it on like I'd been wearing it all the time. And it used to be all crumpled up because it had been in my bag all the time. My mum used to go, why is your coat always crumpled up? And I was like, I don't know. It just... I
does that.
I can understand that whole, that no coat thing. But I don't... Yeah, it's mad. It really is. That's so funny.
Yeah, but I mean... Yeah, I really admire them for that. Very nice people, very, very friendly people. I like that. I like that people, you can just talk to people in, I mean, I don't know about now, but certainly like 10 years ago or however long it was, 11 years ago, certainly you could then. I'm sure that's probably not changed in a lot of places in the north, that, where people are just a bit more amiable than in London.
Yeah, the north does tend to be a little bit more friendly. I mean, I remember going to Newcastle we're talking like back in the 80s, and it was like that then. I remember going there and being the only black face in town kind of thing, and just like making loads of friends when we went to the pub, and they'd be like, hey, buy you a drink, and all this sort of thing. It was great.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's one thing, certainly. They're really... I guess with London, we get used to people coming from all over the place. Don't really bat an eyelid if someone's like, wherever someone's from, or their skin colour, their ethnic background. But in Newcastle, even when I was there were international students, but actual like Geordies themselves of like ethnic, who weren't white, I don't know, who were people of colour or who were ethnic minorities. I don't think I met many at all. I think I've actually met more in Ilford, because there were a couple of families that I worked with where, they were either born and raised in Newcastle or used to live in Newcastle and then moved to London. So I think I've met more like not white Geordies in London than I did when I was in Newcastle. So yeah, it's a bit bizarre how that happens, but
cool. And have you ever been to China?
Yes, I have. So I spent 4 months in China living with a family, and I was an au pair. Okay. So I had I had my Chinese little sister, Serena, who I still adore. And I absolutely adored like being with her, and we would always just have so much fun. Her English was fantastic. So the reason I was there was to help improve her English, and just so that she had an English speaker around her all the time. Her English was already fantastic, and she was just so much fun to be with. So I used to take her to school and drop her off, and then go and pick her up. And then, yeah, that was just really lovely. So we used to always play like I Spy and other kind of like word games, or on the way to and from school. We used to sometimes stop at the park on the way back. So you've probably seen images of like Chinese elders in their like local sort of outdoor playground thingies where they're doing their exercise. Yes. And where they're doing kind of exercises, and someone's got a tape and they're playing a tape. So we always used to walk past those people. And of course, like, I think it's strange because you think of China as being this economic superpower, which it of course is. But actually people are still so happy to see a foreigner. Like, it's still something that is like a big thing. So whenever we used to walk past, they would all kind of like stare at us thinking, oh, like who's this, like, you know, this lady, this Western lady with this young Chinese girl. And so like, it was always quite sweet. So we always used to wave, and sometimes we used to also like play on the equipment while they were there. Oh, cool. It was a good experience. It was a really good learning experience in China, because it really is, I think, unlike anywhere else I've been. It's very grey, I would say. It's very grey and concrete. It's, even though there are these huge skyscrapers like everywhere, absolutely everywhere, if you look at the people, they're not as kind of like modern or as like 2020 as you would think. You know, people are still kind of have their ways and their fashions. I remember a guy that I met in China, a Chinese man, he said to me that, you know, our country, our infrastructure, like our buildings are growing and growing and becoming more developed. Our technology is always is huge, but the people are not quite at that level. So it's still like more normal for a person to be, for a Chinese person maybe to be used to like how China was sort of 30 years ago. Right. The fashions haven't quite caught up, you know, maybe the ways of life hasn't caught up with what you would associate with these huge buildings. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. You know, there are designer shops all over the place. You'll see Gucci, you'll see Prada everywhere. And yet they'll be empty because it's like, well, who can afford that, you know?
Oh, so they're genuine, original, like genuine. Yes. Prada and Gucci?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure that there are plenty of rip-offs, but there are also plenty of genuine places, you know, brand new. And yet you just think, well, I know China has a lot of billionaires, but realistically, when you think about how great the Chinese population is, there's not that many of them that can really afford this stuff. And so it's this very strange, you know, we always hear about these kinds of like these rich billionaires or millionaires of China, but there's really, you know, that's not the vast majority of the population. Gucci and Prada are empty.
Actually, you say that, but if I'm being honest, I've never, I can't say that I do hear about billionaires of China.
Do you know?
To be honest, if I was being honest, that because you always hear about billionaires in Saudi Arabia, billionaires in London, billionaires in America, and all those sort of places, Russia and stuff like that. But you never, it's not something that me personally, because there may be people on here who say differently, but you never really hear much about there being Chinese billionaires, and I've never really thought of it like that actually.
Oh, interesting.
Now that you've mentioned it, it's like, oh, okay.
Because I always feel like they kind of mentioned in the same breath as the Saudi or the Russian billionaires. I always feel like it's sort of the Saudi, Russians, and Chinese, you know, or where like the Chinese have either bought, you know, some football club or football stadium, or they're the new manager.
Okay, but, now that you say that.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that have, but I think they're more from Thailand. I think it is.
There's a few But I know that there's a lot of, just like a lot of Russian and Saudis buy sort of these, you know, super expensive flats in London. I always feel like the Chinese are also mentioned in that context as well. So, yeah.
Okay, let me see the comments. Studente Records have just said some football clubs are owned by Chinese, except, for example, Inter FC. So, okay, so maybe they're more prevalent in Italy, maybe, for the football. Here, I know that there's Cardiff City and Leicester, but I think the guy was from... I think he was from
Thailand. I think so. I think so.
Correct. But I stand corrected if I've got that wrong. Please, someone jump in the comments if you could got time to Google it and put it here. Let me just say hi to some more people who have joined us. Okay, so we've got Francis Scott, I think it is, that's joined us. I've given Francis a little wave, and Lorena Luca is also joined, and Rosanna 4158 has joined, and all right, let me see if I can get this say this correctly. Sveta Babkova. I hope I've said those names correctly, and my apologies if I haven't. Okay, so and Elena is just waving, and yeah, and I'm waving back. So let's have a little talk about your crochet.
Yes.
How on earth? You see, now, for me, when I hear the word crochet, it takes me back to 1970s. Okay, because being that I grew up in the 70s, like I was born in the 60s, but grew up through the 70s, and crochet to me, when I hear that, right, it conjures up visions of little crochet doilies, we used to call them, and like they were like little placemats that you'd have, and they'd be made out of this funny kind of, I don't know, it's like a string kind of material for those. And then parents would, like moms would crochet little things for newborn babies. And so it takes me back to that 60s time. Not 60s, 70s time. 70s. And then I remember my mum used to knit, and she tried to teach me to crochet. And I remember learning with the little, because that's with the little hook needles, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So she did teach me to crochet at one point, and I remember crocheting maybe like a line of things, because I intended to crochet a scarf, and it never quite materialized, and then I just gave up in the end, and it was just like, crochet is really not for me. So how on earth in 2020, during a lockdown period, have you suddenly thought, you know what, I'll do crochet? How's that come about?
Good question. It was kind of a similar thing, you know, back in the day. So I say back in the day, in the 90s, my grandmother.
Back in the day, in the 90s. When you say back in the day and you say 90s, that's like last week. But back in the day, in the 90s.
So in the 90s, just last week, it was my grandmother, God rest her soul, that taught me and my sister how to knit. But then I was really young, so like yourself. So my grandma would kind of start me off, and then I knew how to do like the normal knit stitch, and then I'd do a few lines, and then that would be it. And then it was some years ago, I was at a bit of a loose end, so I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make something? So I started knitting, and I kind of retaught myself how to knit from a book and from YouTube tutorials.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then I kind of was like, this is really fun. And then knitting and crochet, I kind of always mentioned, in the same breath as well. And so, because every time I heard someone say, oh yeah, I like knitting, the next thing that they would say would be do you know how to crochet? Or, oh, I love knitting and crochet. So I thought I need to get into this crochet thing as well, because I love knitting. So if people are also doing knitting, who are knitting are also doing crochet, then why not? And so I taught myself how to crochet from a book and from YouTube tutorials. And then that was like a few years ago. And it was kind of always on the back burner. I was like, I really want to see if I can crochet something and try and sell it. And I was looking in like quite a few books for ideas, trying to find things that were useful, because I think the thing with doilies and so on, I think some of them look really beautiful, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I just thought, oh, but doilies, like who's buying them? Like, I'm sure there are people that buy them, but I thought, what, you know, isn't there a way we can kind of like bring this into the sort of like present time? You know, what things do people use and would people maybe buy? And so I found like some crochet purses. Like I found like a little book, and I thought, oh yeah, you know, everybody always uses bags and purses. So I taught myself, or I sort of like, you know, looked through a few books and then just adapted certain things and thought, oh, purses, you know, let me just start off with that. And then this last year, I decided to really focus on that and to try and kind of like have a website and, you know, try and garner some kind of like website base or, you know, customer base, or open the Etsy shop and really kind of put my efforts into doing that, because that had always been the plan. And so this last academic year, I kind of finally took the time out of work to think, okay, let's just focus on the crochet. And then lockdown, I started crocheting other bits and pieces. The thing with the purses is that they're quite time consuming. So I really love making the purses a lot. And
how long do they take?
So I'm going to show you this purse, okay? So this one.
Wow. Nice.
Which I just love. And I'm half tempted to just keep it for myself, to be honest. But it is available.
You'll have no profits. You just have a like.
Yeah, I know.
All your crochet. And I'm not selling. I'm not selling. Yeah, you like? I'm not selling.
No, that's probably going to happen, because I kind of like, and after you've worked with it, you kind of think, oh, like, you know, it's got a special place in my heart, because it's taken me like, what, like, you know, like 15 or 16 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
At the very beginning, it was taking me about 20, because I was having to think about, you know, how to sew on the lining and things like that. I don't have a machine. So I've kind of like got the timing down a bit. But I was just, but it's still, you know, a long old process. And that's why I started making these, because I thought, it's a rose, sorry.
No, I can see. I can see. No.
So I started trying to find things either online or flicking through books that were just like really quick things to make, that I thought were a bit more of an updated version from the sort of doilies and sort of, I don't know, scary tablecloths from the 70s.
So are you making them from sight, or are you actually following a pattern?
I was initially following, so the purses is just from, it's actually a very simple stitch. It's like anyone who crochets will learn how to do double crochet. American terminology is different. But from that, I just kind of like thought to myself, oh, well, I can just do that basic stitch. For the roses, I found a pattern, and then I've kind of memorized that pattern, because that one was quite straightforward and they don't take very long. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was quite easy to memorize that pattern. Yeah, I think that's about it. And then other things that I practice, things like filet crochet, which won't mean anything to the non-crochet.
Filet crochet, did you say?
Is that how it's pronounced? It's Filet.
Yeah, filet.
Yeah.
When I think of filet, I think of pastry.
Well, yeah, or steaks, right? So, yeah. But it's
now
like
you're making me feel hungry.
So that's like the lace, and I really like working with these fine threads and making snowflakes out of them, or somehow combining like the finer threads with the slightly thicker ones, so you get like nice kind of textures and things like that. But every time I pick any of it up, it's still like testing things out, because there's so many variations. So even when I've done like one thing in, you know, one color or a particular color combination, I just think, oh, like, what if I do these two colors? What if I do that color? So as a result, you're not far off. I have ended up with loads of stuff that's not necessarily for sale. It's all of my like little experiments that I was like, I wanted.
Look, Christmas is coming. People will always have birthdays. There'll always
I
be
know.
reasons to kind of pop one of those in a little package or whatever.
Hopefully, I mean, spread the word. You know, like tell your friends and family.
Well, yeah, and you tell everyone, because I know you do have a blog and you've got a website and everything. So now is the time to
Yes.
promote that. So tell everyone the name of your blog, your website, and how.
Okay, so just like my username is on Instagram is Liu LingLing UK. If you just put a .com at the end of it, that's my website. So liulinglinguk.com, and then you will be
LuILINGLING. Is that right?
You know what? Sorry, I just felt like we were on a spelling bee. It's like you've been given like the word you need to spell, and it's like my Chinese name. And I just imagine you on this stage. You were nearly correct. It's LIU.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
You know, but it's okay. It's my username on Instagram. So if you get stuck, just go to my account and just copy it, or click the link, in fact. And then the blog is liulinglinguk.com/blog. So
nice and easy.
Nice and easy for me now that I've had to say it like over the last few months. But if you forget, then you know, just pop onto my Instagram account and click something. If it doesn't work, just let me know. Like I'm always happy to help out. So
perfect. So have you got some other things there with you to show? Because I know that I mentioned you to you the other day that I saw something on your website and I was like, I want one of those. And it was the little miniature plant in the thread bobbin. And I was like,
do you know, your heart's about to be broken, Driweave, because I don't know what that's in the abyss of like my samples / experiments box. So I know, but don't worry, like the idea is still in my head, and that's another thing that I need to practice. These little sort of like plants or flowers, that maybe if I can get them to look good, then I'll sell them.
They do look good. They do look good. Do you do bespoke and like custom made stuff? So if someone came and said, right, I've got this little fake IKEA YouTube channel, everyone's got one plant, like, and I said, can you make this for me out of crochet? Would you be able to do that?
So I like to think that in a few months I will be able to do that. Right now I can't, but I think it's possible, because that shape of the leaves for sure is possible. That's the kind of thing that I'm experimenting with at the moment.
I look forward to my package in the post.
To say, but before I go on to the commission things, can I just say hi to Jenny, because and I really hope I've pronounced her name correctly. Her username on this chat is Ida Siangu, I think, but I've noticed that she's one of my crochet like buddies, so I don't know her in real life, and I just really appreciate that she has made the effort to join the chat. So I just wanted to say a big hello to her.
Hi Jenny. Lol, you got it. She said you've got it right. Ida Siangu. Ida Siangu.
Yes.
That's a really cool name. Ida Siangu.
She's got a really cool, you know.
She's got a really cool,
Instagram account.
Okay.
So, you know, I know she's
in the US.
Yeah.
Wow.
So not because I'm not happy to see like everybody else. I definitely am. But I feel like, you know, big shout out to the person who doesn't actually know me in real life. So we're just like Instagram buddies.
Perfect. And there's quite a few. There's a couple of crochet people on here, because I saw someone else. There's Crochet by Shantine.
Oh my goodness!
As well.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I've missed that. Hi, Shantine. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I think
it's Idaho Asian Goo. Oh, Idaho Asian Goo, Idia Sangu. Oh, I see. That's so funny.
That's cool.
Yeah, for my.
I love when people make up really cool names.
Yeah.
Like for their Instagram. That's really cool.
I would have just carried on calling, just knowing Jenny as Ida Siangu for forever.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So
Now we know the secret. Now we know the secret.
So commissions, yeah, that was something that I just publicised to people, to members of my website, because I want website people to have like, you guys are both cool. Oh, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
So that was something that I just kind of had as like a thing to members of my website. But that is going to be open to whoever come. I don't know. I haven't really set any dates. I don't know, in a month's, couple of months' time, because I really want to give priority to the members, to the people who are all like basically friends and family, who are probably the vast majority of people in this chat. Thank you. Who have actually signed up. And, you know, when I was pestering people about, oh, I need to have like, you know, members and I want to send out a newsletter, like, can I sign you up? Like, would you mind joining? So at the moment, I'm trying to make it so that members have this priority. But you yourself are a member, so commissions are certainly open to you from now. I mean, they're open to anyone, because it's not like I've got them like banging the door. But Driweave, your commission might take a while. Admittedly, I need to figure out.
Listen, I can wait. I've got patience. I've got patience of steel, if that's even a phrase. But I'm cool with that. I can wait.
Yeah.
I am year of the snake, the year of the wood snake. So, you know, we can just be dormant and lying still and quiet and wait for our time to. So, yeah, I can wait.
Fine. Yeah, that's fine by me, because you're going to be waiting a long time for your nice crochet plants. So yeah.
It's good because I'm excited about that. I can just put them behind me here so they can be in the background within shot of the camera, so everyone can see them. So I'm cool. Will you be doing crochet hoodies and stuff as well?
Crochet hoodies? Oh Lord.
Yeah.
No.
That would be really sweet. You know, like in the 70s when they used to have those crochet
jumpers,
dresses,
or like
dresses, the little maxi minis dress with the little belt to go around the middle. You could start that up again.
Those dresses have not quite disappeared. There's still honestly, they're still out there on Instagram. There's a few accounts that I follow where people have made their crochet tops or skirts.
It's all coming back, isn't it?
It is, especially because people, you know, what else is there to do? You know, you're just stuck inside. So you think, oh, like, you know, I've got this like yarn that I bought from the pound shop like 50 years ago. You know, like, let me just see what I can do with it. So,
well, the thing is as well is that because everyone's been at home for 7 months, you know, there's going to be a baby boom next year. It goes without saying. You know, it goes without saying. So I think you'll be busy for some time, like booties and little crochet baby grows and hats and.
I reckon, that there's definitely a massive market for that, because I also see loads of accounts that have like really cute like baby booties, baby blankets, and everything like that.
And those things that they wear around their head with the little rose.
Well, one of these roses.
It is, but it's like that kind of
yes. You know what?
Sweatband with a rose.
I know what you mean. They kind of remind me of christenings a bit. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, those are still out there as well.
What is that? Why? This, you know, the baby phone. They've got the babies like this, all twisted up and all contorted like that.
Wait, is this back in the day in the 70s again?
No, I'm talking now. If you look at I'm talking now in this day and age. You know when you go like past those photography shops where they do like, and you always get the baby picture with the baby like this, and they're in a basket, or they're like newborns and they're like hunchback like this, and they're like that, and they've got that little crochet band.
Oh gosh, Do you know what? I really hope nobody in this chat is like, is crocheting one of those things.
No,
Last
but no, my apologies if you are, but it just always makes me laugh because I think it's more a combination of those headbands and the baby, the way they've contorted the baby to kind of be the model in the picture. It's like, why do you do that? Please tell me why.
So I really like, so again, this is not knocking whatever anyone does, because I like, because I think creativity is cool. But yeah, I'm trying to I don't know, be a bit original in my ideas. So I don't think you're going to get the Liu LingLing baby booties or crochet headbands for babies anytime soon. Yeah, but you know, they're out there.
I have to wipe my eyes. Hang on, I have to wipe my eyes because I was just.
Oh my goodness!
I can't stop laughing. Stop.
Oh gosh!
If I start laughing, I'm going to lose control. So
think of something sad. Think of something sad, like, you know, I don't know, crochet for. I don't know. I can't think of anything quite so sad.
No. It's and breathe.
So I've also just noticed the time.
Yeah,
I know. What's going on?
We haven't got through half of the questions.
We haven't got to Samaritans.
Yes.
So do we start another chat? Like, do we start another thing?
We can keep going until the timer comes up, and then if we run out of time, we can start another chat and we can jump on. So, tell me about, because you used to, or you still volunteer? Is it volunteer?
It was voluntary. I used to, but no longer. I think it's already been about 5 years, maybe 6 years since I stopped volunteering. But I was a Samaritan for 4 years, and that was such a brilliant experience. I think in terms of in terms of learning about life and the things that people go through, and being able to listen to someone in an environment where nobody is going to judge or nobody's going to advise. It was such a brilliant experience. You just from even the vast majority, or even from the kind of range of people that used to call in, or the range of things that people used to call in about, I just loved it.
So how did you come across that? What made you think, actually I'm going to volunteer?
I was looking for voluntary work at the time. I think I must have been at another loose end, and I just sort of typed in my postcode on a website to look for voluntary work around. And Samaritans was the first thing that popped up, because there was a Samaritans office just around the corner from my house, actually. And so I thought, Samaritans. And I thought, I've heard about Samaritans, but, you know, I've always thought it sounded a bit kind of like a bit mysterious. So the kind of advert said, you know, are you good at listening to people? Would you be able to provide emotional support? Full training is provided. And I thought to myself, well, I'm quite good at listening to people. You know, this sounds like a worthy thing to do. Why not? And so I kind of signed up to it and went through the whole training course, which was probably I think it was a good 10 weeks. I'm sure it was a good couple of 2 to 3 months, where you go through all of these role play situations. You the experience of the volunteers that are at the branch at the time, and you learn about what Samaritans is there for, and also what it's not there for. Because I was always under the impression before I joined that it was there for advice, you know. But actually, no, it's not. It's not there to advise you at all.
Okay. Wow.
It's there as a kind of I don't know if sounding board is the correct term, but it's there you are just simply there to listen and to sort of guide someone or help someone through their feelings of distress. And then in the hope that they themselves will either feel clearer about things, or they will see some kind of solution, or they will just feel better having shared it with another person.
Wow.
Yeah. But really fantastic experience with volunteers who were so interesting because, of course, I guess a bit like with work, you get thrown together with people that you wouldn't necessarily be like friends with, or where you wouldn't really cross paths with each other. But it was a similar thing with Samaritans. There were people of like a huge age range, like some that had been, you know, Samaritans for like 20, 30 years and who are still going now. Wow. Others that had, like, you know, were very new, others that were doing it as a kind of like, this was their life. Others that were doing it as a sort of, got a few, you know, I'm studying, so I've got time in the, you know, to dedicate to some voluntary work. And yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I mean, I do mentoring, and I mean, in my time of doing it, I've come across a couple of students along the way that have told me things, and it's made me feel upset. And I've sat and cried with them, which is one of the things you're kind of not supposed to do, but I'm quite emotional like that. So I'm just like, well, whatever, I'm going to cry. But we've got literally like a minute and a half left. So if this cuts out, we will just come back on. I'll just do a new live stream and everybody just jump on that live stream and then we'll continue this conversation, because I think it's important that we go really in depth with this.
Yes. By the way, no one's under any obligation to join, because it's a long time to be listening to other people chat. Like,
I think it's really interesting, and also people who find this afterwards. Like when I put it up, you know, they may want to know more about this. So I mean, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the chat now, and then we'll come back. So then we can save this and then come back. Yeah. All right, see you in a minute. All right, so everyone, I'm going to end the chat now, jump back on in a second, and we'll continue the conversation. See you in a couple of minutes. All right. Right, so everyone is jumping back on. Oh, we've got new people joining as well. We've got Marie Russo.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a lovely lady. Very lovely lady.
Hey, Mari. Is it Mari? It's Maria?
Yes, as in short for Marilena.
Ah, Marilena. Is that Spanish or is it Italian?
It's Italian.
Oh, Italian. Russo, of course. Yes. Yes, of course. Yeah.
So for whatever reason, I again can't see myself, but...
Oh, that's so weird.
But somehow... Yeah, but that's okay, because I just kind of like appeared on the screen on my phone.
Yeah, he'll probably come back on again at some point. It's probably just scanning my guests to see that they're okay to be on here or something. I don't know. So I give up with all of this. Really, it's just like So we were talking just before we started this. Okay, so for people who may just be joining the chat, this. I just phoned and I had to just cut the video. I had to decline the call. That's so funny. So you know this is live, right? I've had texts coming down and I've had phone calls coming through. That's too funny. For those of you that have just joined the chat, I'm talking to Hayley, aka Liu LingLing. Is that have I said that correctly?
You have, yes.
Yeah, and we were talking about the fact that you grew up in East London in Ilford, and we were also talking about the fact that during this period this lockdown period that we've had for the last 7 months, you've taken up the hobby. You've taught yourself to crochet.
Oh, have you?
And have to. I might have to. I'm hoping that it's not an important, like mega or urgent phone call. But if it rings again, I might just have to kind of cut and jump back on again. So we were talking about the fact that you've taken up crochet as a hobby and you've now started it as a business venture.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's in the first chat, and then we started to, because I really wanted to talk to you about the fact that you volunteered to work with the Samaritans. So I wanted to talk about, we started talking about that, and I was saying that having been done mentoring, sometimes when you work with some of the children, some of the things that they come out with, it can bring up emotional things inside you, or you feel I'm just getting phone calls coming through.
Do you need to phone your dad back? Phone him back, like the poor man.
Yeah, I might have to just, if it goes again, then I will pause the video and just say I'll call them back. Hopefully it's okay. Hopefully it's fine. No, I know why they're phoning me is because I haven't phoned them yet, but they're probably thinking that there's a...
That's so sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, I was saying to you, how are you able to talk to people on the Samaritans? Because obviously when people ring the Samaritans, they're ringing you with really serious, I don't want to say issues, but maybe issues is the word. So they're ringing you with serious things. So how do you prepare yourself for that kind of phone call?
I think the training certainly helps. During the training, there's all sorts of different situations and all sorts of different examples are kind of thrown at you in the role play situation. And I think that during the training, you yourself will kind of feel whether this is for you or it's not. So as the training's going on, if you feel, if someone phoned up about and said this, that, the other, and I'd get really upset, then I think you might kind of realize that maybe it's not for you, because of course we cannot get that kind of emotionally involved where we can't cry or we can't sort of, kind of show that we're affected by what the person's saying. So certainly we empathize.
Wow, that's hard. How do you switch off like that? Because
so a very wise Samaritan who I did so many shifts with, his name's Steve. I just loved him. I could talk about him all day as well. He was one of the proper like stalwarts who'd been there for years and years. But I remember him saying to me, he said, because it's ultimately it's the caller's problem. It's their problem. It's not yours. You are not the person that has to live their life. And so you kind of have to just remind yourself of that. So of course, you can empathize and you can think, God, this is a really awful situation. But I think, there is always that distance between you and the caller. Ultimately, you're not, their problem isn't your problem, I don't know. I guess during the training, maybe volunteers that are not either coping with it or volunteers that maybe aren't doing such a great job, they kind of get weeded out. And then even after the training, you have a mentor. So you're kind of like listening into an experienced volunteer and their phone calls and seeing how they deal with things. And then, they're kind of listening into your phone calls as well, so that if you get stuck or whatever, they can sort of write you something on a bit of paper. But that's just during mentoring. I should make it clear that that's not the case with everybody. So people shouldn't feel like if they phone Samaritans that there's more than one person listening in, because that's not the case with the vast majority of calls. I don't know. Maybe it's just something you get used to. Maybe it's something you get better at. And then, of course, if you do get a phone call which has really like upset you, or it really kind of tugs at the heartstrings, then once that call is ended, I think if necessary, you can, take yourself off the phone for 10 minutes or whatever. And, maybe you need to go and have a cry in the other room. But actually during my whole time there, I never saw anybody kind of react like massively tearfully to anything they had just been through. But, I'm sure it happens.
It's so commendable that you there are people like you that do these volunteering roles, because and especially as it is a volunteering role, you're not being paid to sit there and listen to other people's stories and tragedies. You're just there because you feel that you want to give something back or do something for someone else.
Yeah.
So, wow. I've got to do you like woo woo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's an honor. Like, it's an honor, I think, and it is a privilege to listen, to be that one that's in that position that has someone telling you all of this, you know, because you're never going to meet that person. You don't know who they are. They don't know who you are. You're never going to see them. You're never going to know. Even if you walk past them in the street, you'd never know that, oh, that was the person that phoned me last night. And so it's really a real honor, I think, to be that person who gets to listen to it. Plenty of people can talk to strangers where they can't talk to their friends and family, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's really a true honor to be the person who receives the phone call. I just saw that Aaron has asked a question.
Yeah, he said, what made you want to do it? What made you want to do to become a Samaritan?
You know what, I just don't know. I wanted to do voluntary work at the time. I typed in the postcode. Samaritans was the first thing that popped up in terms of distance in my postcode. And I thought, oh yeah, this sounds good. Because, you know, I'm quite good at listening to people. And I think that I'm not one of those people that tends to advise. So this is the other thing, is that sometimes, you know, we'll tell. Well, see, the thing is, I'm kind of fine with it, because most of the time, if a friend or family member shares a problem with you, actually, they're not necessarily looking for advice. They just want to tell someone. You know, they're not necessarily looking for someone to kind of rectify the situation. And I think that people often don't realize that. And so
the key to active listening is the key to mentoring as well, isn't it? So it's about listening rather than advising. Yeah,
you know, which you will well know as well, like, because I'm guessing that's part of your role. And also, you know, we're not qualified. Yeah, we're not qualified to give advice. You know, we don't actually know the ins and outs of advising someone. You know, we're not trained counsellors. But I think it was just, you know, I guess I like helping people. And I think that listening to other people in distress, because I think I'm quite emotionally strong myself and a good listener, I think it was just one of those things that appealed to me, because I thought, well, yeah, I could probably do this and, like, you know, do it quite well. So why not? You know, what's stopping me? And I really loved how when I was speaking with someone on the phone, it would just be you and them. And so, like, in real life, of course, if you meet someone, or you meet up with your friend or your family or whoever, of course, the standard thing is always you have that sort of small talk. You chat about how, you know, oh, how's your day been, the weather, da-da-da. But what I really loved about Samaritans is that there was just none of that. There was none of that kind of, you know, small talk. It was just people phoning up saying, I feel dreadful because of X, Y, Z. And you just being, okay, let's talk about it. And I really love how there's none of that small talk surrounding the sort of like niceties of life. Because the fact is, so many people don't have like happy lives, you know. We all struggle, I think. And I think that, you know, it's good to know that there are people out there who, you know, where everything isn't nice and dandy, because I think sometimes we can be so put off by things that are either on TV or films, you know, where everything kind of like has that kind of like nice ending, you know, even like the violence is like glamorized. So you don't think about the effects of, you know, of violence and so on. And then in real life, you know, the fact is that maybe not everyone's enjoying being on this planet. You know, not everyone has support.
Do you think that we're kind of I don't want to say the word breeding, but we're sort of like cultivating a generation of desensitized young people now? Because everything is just so, I don't know, I think we get so many things thrown at us in the media, on the TV, in the newspapers, in films, things that when I was growing up, for example, when I was growing up and I was a teenager, when you watch the news, if there was like a war or anyone had been killed or anything like that, they would never ever show the person in the news item. You would hear about it and they would talk about it, but they would never show you images of the person lying there in the pool of blood or whatever. It wasn't the done thing. Then all of a sudden, I noticed that they started doing that in the news, and you were seeing people dead in the streets, or you were seeing people being shot or killed. And it was like, Oh, okay. They're showing this now, and it's just become kind of more it's just every day now. And I think we've had so many things like that just flashed in front of us now that young people, some young people, I don't want to say all young people because not all young people are like that, but I think there's a culture now where young people they don't care.
I think
they've been so desensitized to any emotion, so they've got they don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like as if we've kind of cultivated this kind of generation where young people are not encouraged to have emotions anymore. So everyone's just like this.
Yeah, and I would say also, Driweave, the scary thing is that it's not even just the young people. I think that even people my age, I mean, I like to think that I'm still part of the young people, but I think there's plenty of people my age and maybe even older that are also equally as desensitized or not very empathetic or not very clued in to picking up, what's not being said or picking up on the kind of emotion that somebody else might be feeling. I think there's plenty of people who just don't have that sensitivity or tact or, even self-awareness. I'll be becoming, it's a tricky one because I think that also along with all of this, being desensitized to it, I find that in recent years, there's been a huge campaign of talking about mental health, and there's loads of adverts on the TV and on YouTube. You always see them, if you're struggling, reach out to us, text this number. Here's this website, here's our Instagram, here's our Facebook page. And I kind of think, I think it's great, the whole Get Britain talking thing. But I always wonder, are we doing enough to kind of look after the people that are around us? I don't know. Sometimes I just wonder if it's like the done thing to have a kind of mental health campaign, but how much is that campaign, A, reaching the people it needs to reach, and B, how much of that is kind of, it has that whole kind of care involved in it? Because I think that's what's lacking. It's care, So it's all, people will say, oh, we need to talk about our mental health, but then it's, maybe not everybody is the person that we really want to talk to. They say you should have these kinds of conversations in the workplace, but I just think, I don't know.
No one's at work. Everyone's at home now. Where they can have these conversations? Where are they going to have them?
They can have it on their video chat with 15 other people and ruin everyone's day. So I kind of always think there's all these things get talking about mental health in the workplace, but I thought, God, I'd hate to talk to any of my colleagues if I was having a particularly awful day. I don't want my manager knowing that, because then it's just going to be they're worried about me, they're worried about my work and so on. But yeah, I would recommend Samaritans to anyone who is struggling. And the other thing is that Samaritans is not necessarily, it's not only there for people who are feeling suicidal. It is there for people who are feeling any kind of emotional distress. So even though you might think that something in life that has happened is relatively minor, if that is causing you distress and it's throwing you off balance, then the Samaritans are there for that as well. You mustn't think that the situation has to be literally life-threatening before you can reach out for help. Samaritans here.
It's good to know that. It's good to know that, because people may, like you say, think that it's only specifically aimed at certain things.
Yeah, but it's not, and Samaritans are trained to know that there's plenty of seemingly minor things that can happen in life that can really, really affect a person's emotional well-being. And so there's nothing that anyone's going to phone up with that the Samaritans haven't kind of dealt with or heard of before. So it's really important to keep in mind, if you're struggling to cope, where life is just stress, where you just can't process anything, get on the blower. They are also, I think you can find one, oh gosh, no, I shouldn't give any wrong numbers. Oh well, Samaritans website. if you're in the
yeah. And what about if people, because again, due to the circumstances that we're in now, there may be people who may be on the other side of the coin who may want to volunteer. How would they go about volunteering?
Oh, I always encourage people to volunteer because I just think that that is just the best kind of life experience. You know, that is where you really learn about the vast experiences that everybody has. And you really learn how to deal with people from all sorts of kinds of backgrounds. I would really recommend it. I would suggest you go onto the website of the organisation you feel like volunteering, or if you go into Google and you type in volunteering opportunities near me, I think something will come up. Like that, I don't know if the organisation Do It still exists, but that was like a kind of like umbrella place for loads of voluntary work all over the UK. But I think, any organisation I think would be so happy to hear from anyone that wants to volunteer, because organisations can't run without their volunteers. I think like charities can't do it without their volunteers. So volunteers are vital. And you might think that some volunteer roles are more worthy than others, but that is not the case. So you might think that but volunteering, like doing admin work or tidying up a charity's office, that's not really helping. But it is, and it's important to realise that, like, it doesn't all have to be sort of like customer facing for you to make a difference, because it all helps. If everybody did that, I feel like we would be perhaps a more caring and considerate society. So I really, I strongly suggest any kind of volunteering. It can even be like, like allotments, you know what I mean? Like tidying up, like sort of public gardens or parks, things like that. So you might not think that, this is helping, some old man who's really depressed. But then for all you know, that old man might take a walk in that park every day and think, I'm so glad someone's tidied up the litter. I'm so glad someone's swept the path so that I don't have to worry about tripping over. Even the smallest kinds of things like that, you sort out the admin. So that means that somebody in that office can now find what they need to find quicker, and then that helps everything run more smoothly. So everything has these knock-on effects. Anyone thinking of volunteering or doing something useful with their time, I would strongly suggest do it, because someone will benefit from it, and so will you, because you'll just feel like, yes, I've made a small difference.
It does make a difference. It even for building your own self-esteem, feel-good factor. And it's so funny because like I do a radio show on Sundays, which I should plug actually, which is the link on lovethebeatradio.com. And I do that every Sunday, 4 till 6. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
We don't get paid to be on the radio. And people have said to me in the past, how can you DJ and you don't, how can you DJ for free? For me, and I always say this to people, when I got into DJing, it was as a hobby.
Yeah.
It was just an excuse for me to be able to play the records that I love loud, because I couldn't do it in my house. And then it kind of like went on from there. So it was a hobby that I was fortunate enough to become successful with. And I just love playing music. Yeah. So I play music. And I'm now lucky enough to have a radio show to play the music on. So I play. Of course, I love playing, DJing and getting paid. Who wouldn't? Yeah. But for me, I just love being out, getting out there. So it's things like that. I've coached football and done that voluntary because I love working with young people. It gives them a skill, and it feels so good when you volunteer to do stuff. I'm with you on that one, definitely. All the way, 100%. Yeah, for sure. I think more people should do it. It's just good for the soul. And it does feel good to feel that you've helped someone, no matter what it is. It's just it's a buzz. Because you never know, like even just giving somebody else 10 minutes of your time, you could be the only person that's given that person any time for weeks or months.
So to one person, it might mean, oh, it was only 10 minutes. But to another person, it's like, well, that's the only human contact I've had.
That's the world.
Exactly. So, actually talking about it now is making me want to do some voluntary work. But I don't know if I've got the time. Oh, there's always, isn't there?
Yeah, you can make the time. But it's the same as, you know, one of the things I used to say to my mentees as well is like, throughout the day, every time you meet someone, smile at them.
Yeah.
And even if you smile at 20 people in that day, you might not get 20 smiles back. You might get 0 smiles back. But if you just continue to do it, out of all those 200 people you smile at, you'll get at least one person will return that smile to you. And it's the same as when you meet people at the bus stop and you kind of say good morning to them, or you just smile at them, or just say hey, or have a little conversation. We don't know other people's lives. Sometimes you might be that Samaritan that has saved that person from going and doing something drastic because you smiled at them, had a conversation, let them go in front of you in the queue, or open the door. You just never know.
Exactly. That is exactly the kind of attitude I take. I remember actually I did go through, I don't think I was very well at the time actually, but I was going through walks in the park in the morning, and I would smile and I would actually say good morning to everybody that walked past me. And of course it was just like, I got loads of looks, but you know, it just didn't matter, because then, as you said, there were those couple of people that responded. And then the next day when I would go to the park, I'd see those people again, you know, where it would just be like, oh, I recognize that lady who was jogging yesterday. And then we'd like smile and say hi. And, you know, there'd be an old guy who would be like reading his newspaper. Then there'd be like a dog walker. And I'd say, oh, can I like say hi to your dog? You know, and like those things are just they're just so like heartwarming, you know. Those tiny interactions really can make a day. Maybe that's part of the reason why I also joined Samaritans, maybe, because I just wanted to have that interaction with other people and just you know, have this insight into someone else's day. You should read the comments. Yes. Dear Raj Crafts. Okay, so Dear Raj Crafts is saying, I also love music. You enjoy the life, guys. You are so cute. Oh, hearts. You are also so cute.
Yeah. See, that's made my day today as well. And it's the little things. It's the little things that make people smile and just make people happy, man.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, but Samaritans, I think I've thought, I did think about going back, because I really did love it. And there's quite a few things that I miss. But yeah, again, I guess it's the sort of time commitment, because you would be on a weekly shift, which is for the most part fine. Don't know, maybe talking about it.
What are the shifts like? How long do you have to, so give me a breakdown of a general day being a Samaritan.
So this varies from branch to branch. In the branch I was at, there would only be 2 of you on shift at any one time, sometimes 3 actually. There'd either be 2 or 3 of you. There can never only be one person in that building. And it was always just really nice and quiet. So there'd be different shifts. There'd be the ones in the afternoon and then going into the night. And then there would also be like a 2 a.m. till 7 a.m. shift, which, if the rota was done sort of like correctly and there were enough volunteers, you would only have to do that particular shift like twice a year, I think, something like that, 2 or 3 times a year. And those shifts were always the ones that really just stuck with me, because I'd wake up at 1:15 or 1:30. So it would of course be pitch black. And then I'd go to the Samaritans, and it's really like proper dead of the night stuff. But it feels there's just something so nice about, it's like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Loads of people are asleep, but there's always people that will be awake, and there's always people that will need to phone in, and there will always be people there, hopefully always, to listen. And I used to kind of really love that. And then the shift would finish at 7 a.m. and I'd be absolutely knackered because you've just been awake for the whole night. But typically the shifts were kind of like quite standard evening times, you know, sort of finish at 10:30, which for most people, I guess, is not too much of a late time to finish. You know, people have got work the next day and so on. And then there would also be email. So we would respond to emails as well when we weren't on the phones.
Oh, wow, that as well.
So, and I mean, sometimes you wouldn't necessarily have the time to get to the email inbox because you'd be on the phone all the time, or you'd have like a really long phone call.
Do you have a timing? Is there a time frame that you have to kind of deal with a phone query? No, it's not a query, but a phone call in, or if someone rings up at 9:30 and you are on the phone till 11:30, you just keep going until that person says, "Okay, I'm going to go now." There
are sort of techniques that we learn, like to end a call if we feel like if we feel like the caller has they've said what they need to say, and I don't know, maybe it starts to get either repetitive or it starts to kind of like stray off topic of emotions. There are techniques that Samaritans learn in ending phone calls, but I think as long as the person who's calling is talking about their emotional distress and their situation and you know how difficult things are, then actually the calls can kind of go on for quite a while. But I think like maybe the longest I ever had a phone call was maybe like an hour and a half, you know, an hour and 20. And I mean, it doesn't happen that often. Well, not to me, it didn't.
How does that work though? If there's only 3 of you in the office and all 3 of you are on the phone, then that means that there's no free lines then. So this person, the 4th person.
Yeah. So that means that there's like somehow or another, and I know that the technology has been updated in these last few years where I've not been there, it trips down the line. So I know for sure that one of the issues was people would have like an engaged ringtone. They'd hear an engaged dialing tone. But I think that the incidences where that happens has been massively reduced. So it kind of trips down the line to another branch in the region that's open.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So, and also, you know, there is like a branch will have a local number, but then there'll also be the sort of like national number where if you go on the website, so that could go through to any branch that has a shift open at that time.
Right. A bit like, what do you call it? When you ring up like the bank and you get put through to somewhere else in the world apart from call center.
Yes.
That's the,
yes.
Yeah. I just want to answer as well. Dear Raj Crafts has asked, can I ask a question? And I've typed in the comments, yes, of course you can. So if you have any of the listeners, if you've got any questions that you want to ask Hayley, LingLing, or myself, please do write in the comments so we can see what you want to ask and we'll try and answer them for you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But Charlotte, it's been like an hour and a half.
It has. But you know what's really been good is like the first part of this, for those people that have just joined now on this live stream, and for the people that will be watching this on the replay, this has been a 2-parter. I love it when it goes into a 2-parter because it just you know, it just flows. It just flows. But like the first part, we talked about your crochet business, because you've set yourself up with a crochet business. So we talked mainly about that and a little bit about yourself. And then this second part has been a bit more serious.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, but we've been talking about your volunteer role as a Samaritan in the past, and so I think that's kind of panned out quite well. The fact that we've got 2 separate videos, one that was just like the fun part, and now for the serious part, and we've kind of come on to this bit where we're talking about that. So it's good because I think it's important to have discussions like this now. Yes. It's important to have discussions like this all the time, but especially at this time, it's important for people to know what they could do, because there may be people who jump on this afterwards and they're like, I'm really distressed. I really need to talk to someone. I can't talk to my family. Who can I talk to? Where can I go? And just caught this and be like, wow, okay. And what I'll do when I post this up is I will tag, I'm hoping that there is an at Samaritans.
There must be.
Yeah, I'll try and tag that, or at least I'll hashtag Samaritans. So then hopefully it will tag onto this. Let me just see what dear Raj Crafts has said. They're asking, any online work please suggest me, because I'm a graduate. No work, any work please. So that's a tough one.
It's tough to be a graduate, I think, in this time. Because I mean, yeah, it's not easy to be a graduate like anytime, because you're always fighting with other graduates. But I think especially where so much has either gone working from home, so those kinds of like practical, like working in a cafe, working in a pub or a bar, or working even in an office has all kind of gone, because now it's just like remote. But I don't know.
That's a bit of a tough one.
I would suggest, if there is like a kind of job centre or some kind of, I don't know, even like a college, like sometimes there's like bulletin boards, or in your local area, if there's like a newspaper or website that deals specifically in your area, maybe check that out. I think it might just be a case of applying.
Or if you've got a skill.
Yes.
If you've got a skill that you can offer, and it might be the time. This is a good time for people to start their own businesses now and try and sort of, I mean, it's a funny time, because it's almost like the small businesses are being squeezed out so that the big major companies can just buy them up and just,
I know,
without mentioning any names or anything, but like, I think, if you've got a skill, or you've got a craft, or a business idea that you've always wanted to try out, there's no time like the present. I would go for it, because there's so much funding out there at the moment that you might be able to do set something up for yourself. Yeah, that's different from, well, not necessarily different from everything else, but give it a try.
I reckon, following on from, if you've got a skill, if there's a particular subject, academic subject, that you can tutor others in, that's also another good way to make money, because there's always people out there that want someone to read over their essay, or like help them with their maths or their English or whatever. So if you design gift work, I don't know, I reckon with this person who's commenting, with dear Raj Crafts, if you've got a craft, go down that avenue.
Get it out there.
Yeah.
Get it out there. Yeah. Set up a page, get yourself a web page, or you could even start a YouTube channel where you show people, you do videos of yourself designing your craft, and start it up that way, and then get people to notice your stuff that way. That might be a way forward.
Even like designing like a card that you can send people, or designing some kind of like I don't know, something tangible that you can like give as a sort of freebie to promote the business. Call me DK. Oh, bless you. But yeah, that's my advice. Yeah. Check out your local area.
It's a bit of a strange time to be a student right now anyway, isn't it? Kind of like, they're all kind of locked down in their little student halls and all learning remotely.
I'd hate it. I would hate to experience university in this way, that so many students in the UK and probably everywhere else in the world are facing. Oh gosh, how learning online, that's not fun. You want to like make friends with the ground. Yeah. You want to go out and get drunk and like, turn up hungover to your lecture. Like, it's not fun doing things online and just sitting in your room. Like, oh no, I'm so glad that this did not, I mean, it sounds awful, doesn't it? I'm so glad I'm okay, and that, I'm not a student. But yeah, I really feel for the students in the UK and everywhere who are just, yeah, for sure.
Gotta feel for them. Well, do you know what? The one thing I didn't ask you is, what are your music tastes?
Oh my gosh, you don't want to know my music tastes, because they are really...
I do.
So the only recent person that I know is Dua Lipa. Like she's literally the only person, and I don't even know all of her songs, and she could probably walk past me in the street and I wouldn't necessarily recognise her.
I wouldn't either, but I do play some of her songs. I wouldn't know them all off, but I know her play.
But I really like her. I really do like the songs, that she's, some of the songs of hers that I've heard. I don't know, to me, she can kind of do no wrong. She's really the only person that I know of, like, recent years. But my music tastes, I don't know, everything I listen to is so old. Do you remember No Doubt? Like Gwen Stefani?
Yes.
So I like, they were like the band that I used to really love, and I just say that I still really like them, but I've got no idea what they've been up to in the last 10 years.
Oh no, it was the other. I was thinking of Roxette, because I was thinking one of them died, but it wasn't. It was Roxette. One of them died.
Oh really?
Yeah. That was about a year ago.
All right. Well, this is just proof as to how out of the loop I am, because I actually know who Roxette are, and I didn't know one of them had sadly passed away.
I think the woman passed away like a few months ago. Might have been at the beginning of the year.
I'm going to Google this later. Okay.
Yeah. I think. Don't quote me, but I think.
Okay. And if she hasn't, we're really sorry we've got that wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm just going by what was in the metro. So, hey, I actually picked up a metro today on the bus, and I was like, oh my gosh, metro. I used to love every morning going to work, getting the metro, doing the crossword, looking at my stars, doing the crossword. That's all. It was my stars, the crossword, and whether if Liverpool had played, what the football kind of comments were, and that was it. I wasn't interested in what was in the actual paper, because it was just all dirgy. But yeah, and I picked that up today, and I was like, wow, nothing's changed. It's just still depressing. But I looked straight for the crossword and my star signs, and I was like happy. So that's quite funny. Yeah, wow. Hey, do you know what? Right, we're nearly coming up for 2 hours. And I know that you haven't eaten, and I haven't eaten, and I'm getting text messages of people wishing me good night before they go to bed.
And your dad's been trying to phone you, so you need to call him back.
My mum and my dad have been trying to call me early, so I should really kind of jump off and go and make sure that they're okay. Sure. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so chuffed, and so I can only say thank you for coming on, because I know in the beginning you were a bit like, oh, I'm not sure, but it's been fabulous. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today.
I've loved it. We should say happy birthday to Zarina, who I think is the girlfriend of Dear Raj Crafts. Happy birthday, Zarina.
Happy birthday, Zarina.
So it's been my absolute pleasure. Like, thank you so much for having me on, for taking the time also to, show an interest and ask me these questions. Like, I've really loved it. So yeah. Thank you so much, Driweave. It's made my evening.
Thank you. No, it's been, and we're doing it on a Friday, and I'd like to thank the audience as well for joining in as well, because on a Friday night in October,
I know.
You wouldn't expect to see people coming on here as much. We've had quite a few people on here tonight, so I'm really chuffed with that as well.
And I would like, if they do watch this afterwards, the ones that have sort of popped in and out, I just want to say thank you, because I kind of thought, when I was like texting everybody over the last couple of days saying I'm going to be on this, I thought, I don't want to force people to watch it. But on the other hand, like, I want to tell people, and, we need the support, and, so I really do appreciate it. I know I haven't kind of given a shout out to the friends and family that have joined in. I think I gave a shout out to my Instagram friend, who I was really happy that she popped on. But, thank you to the friends and families that I told about this.
Yeah, and to everyone who jumped back onto this link, because there's some people here. Key Lewis was on the other one as well, and I'm saying she. I shouldn't.
It's a he.
But right, okay. Sorry. Key. He jumped on from the last link and came on and has been with us right the way through. So that's perfect. So thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. And do you want to give a last minute shout out of like just to remind people where they can go onto your website? Please promote away.
Okay. So remember my username on Instagram, Liu LingLing UK. It's exactly the same as my website, liulingling.uk.com. If you can't remember it, just go onto my Instagram page at Liu LingLing UK and click on the link.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, you've been listening to Liu LingLing and also at Driweave Official. This has been Everyday People. I'm going to play us out with my little intro, outro. So, right. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to you.
Thank you to you.
Have a good week.
And you too.
We'll speak soon. All right. Ciao, ciao, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.